Today, we're going to do something that's never been done. We're going to go through the transcript of Kato Kaelin's testimony.
Mr. Simpson is a wanted murder suspect.
This is a bombshell.
I was the last person that saw OJ.
That made him a household name around the world.
This is the most talked about murder case in American history.
I was thinking if I could stand up and go, did you do this? Just look what you're doing to these people. Look what you're doing. Just admit it if you did it.
Did any of your friends predict, Kato, your life's going to change as soon as you get on that witness stand? Did you see him make eye contact? Did you notice how he was reacting when you were talking?
I found out later that my testimony was the highest rated ever in history of pizza sales. More people recognize me than Al Gore.
You were known and popular, but more of an anonymous lifestyle in LA. And then you go out and then everybody knows who you are.
Whatever came out, that was purely me.
Okay, this is intense testimony. Every word matters. Where were you? What did you do? What were you thinking? What was your intent? Hostile witness? Kato Kaelin? Are you kidding me? 30 years ago, the entire world watched as the most famous crime trial ever was taking place in Los Angeles. Sitting at the witness stand. Nice hair. Cool name. The one and only
Brian Kato Kaelin, Brian KatoKaelin.
For the first time ever, we are going to go through the transcript when the whole entire planet was glued in, listening to every word of the famous witness, Kato Kaelin. We're going to go through it today. Get Kato's reaction right here on Tom Zenner Scandal. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. This is going to be an epic episode. So glad you joined us. Of course, with me is the one and only Kato Kaelin. And sir, before we start, could I have you spell your name?
You want me to swear in first or not? What is this? We're going to the transcripts. Oh my God. KatoKaelin.
Is Kato your middle name?
Kato gets my middle name, Brian Kato Kaelin.
Your first name, Brian?
Yes.
Your friends call you Kato?
Everybody calls me Kato.
Mr. Kaelin, are you a little nervous today?
A little bit nervous, yeah, Miss Clark. Oh my God.
Does that bring you back?
You're much better looking than Miss Clark.
Oh my God, that was directly from the transcript. But
yeah.
What'd you think when I called you a few days ago and said, hey, I got an idea for an episode, and these transcripts are out, the clips are out. Everybody remembers watching you. We want to talk about it today.
When you said that, Spellman, are you a little bit nervous? I thought that was Marcia Clark was actually trying to relax me and become, start a friendship, I'm her witness.
Camaraderie, right?
Yes, like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. And I had met with her quite a few times.
Yeah.
At least 6 times in her office.
This is going to be an amazing episode for everybody that watched the trial growing up. It seems like it wasn't 30 years ago. It doesn't seem that long ago for us. How about you? 30 years ago, you were caught in the middle of a tornado. Does it seem like 30 years ago?
No, it doesn't seem like 30 years ago. But when you mentioned the phone call, Kato, we're going to go through the transcripts. I have my transcripts given to me from the court somewhere in the garage, somewhere. And then you come here with the transcripts like, oh.
Right.
And then before the show, we read a few Tom hits. Once again, we have that feeling of this is 30 years ago. It feels like last week. Yeah, it's amazing. And, earlier I was showing Zeus, our producer, clips of Kato back then. And he thought this was just like, he thought I was in my 20s and all that. I said, Zeus, I love you, baby. So I was saying I didn't want to give my age away, but I the whole thing was like, wow, it's been a long time, 30 years just from this.
Yeah, we're going to get inside Kato's head, what he was thinking back then. We're going to play some of these clips that you remember hearing. You made a name for yourself. There's no doubt about it. You stood out as a star of that trial. Not that it was your intent, but I think you were on the stand so long, it allowed your natural personality to come out. And if you're going to be up there answering questions, talking to people with an audience, there's going to be some funny lines.
Right.
Did those funny lines, like getting legitimate laughter out of whoever was in the courtroom? Everybody seemed to be laughing at some of them. Did that relax you? Because I also know you like to play to a crowd. Did you give you a little fuel?
Well, first of all, you don't see cameras in the courtroom. They say there's cameras in the courtrooms. I have no idea what the cameras were in the courtroom. So they're obviously situated places like where your eyes can't see, but probably in the corners. So, no, I had no intentions of being funny, but when I heard the first laugh come from a question that I answered from my heart, it took so much stress off me because that was sort of my element of people knowing that's the guy, that's who I am. Nothing's planned. I don't know what's going to be asked. I mean, we have reviews, but I don't know where it's going to go. So whatever came out, that was purely me, my being.
Yeah. Thank God, right? I mean, at least people got to see some snapshots of who you really were. I found it really fascinating watching some of the clips back again, because they'd go to a wide shot and you could see OJ, and he had facial expressions for everything you were saying. He was kind of locked in, and he'd make these expressions like almost like if the jury was watching him, he was like, maybe if you were saying something that didn't really bode well for him, he was like, doing those facial expressions. Did you see him make eye contact? Did you notice how he was reacting when you were talking?
Certain times, but I was 100% focused on Marsha Clark and Darden, whoever was asking me questions. I was looking at them when they asked me to identify the defendant in the courtroom. Of course, I looked at OJ, and he did give me that OJ kind of smirk smile.
Yeah,
but I was, I wasn't going for. I was just like,
yeah,
let's do this. I'm focused. Let's answer these questions. But yeah, a few times I did see him. Tom, you and I were texting the other night. When it was my 4th or 5th day, and stress was at a level of near tears, I almost was just going to go, OJ, because the Goldmans you could see crying, and the Brown family, I go, did you do this? I was thinking if I could stand up and go, did you do this? Just look what you're doing to these people. Look what you're doing. Just admit it if you did it. And it was like just that thought in my head. It's not of me coming out of my body going, did you? Just admit it.
Yeah.
And I had some crazy thoughts of if he would just admit it.
Just save everybody the grief and the pain.
Right.
Yeah, let people move on, which would never happen. Yeah, but you're under the microscope for that long. You never know. You might just burst out with something that you don't plan. Obviously, you did that. We're going to get into some of those things that did happen. Did you get more nervous, or were the nerves at the highest, like leading up to the first day?
Every day I had the same amount of nervousness. I had the same amount of like stomach pain and stress level. It was just no eating, nothing. I was, and I was getting down there by 6 a.m. or so. Mm-hmm. I would get up, no sleep really, but I would go and I do like a run at 4 a.m. every day, because I was running every day at that time, and I thought that was going to be my stress level of getting a run in. And it was like 10 miles or so, and then going with a lawyer, driving down there to a certain parking garage. And prepping with the lawyer sometimes, just him telling me just sit, answer everything honestly. Don't just answer the question. They always stress that. Don't go on. Just answer the question, because they're going to try to lead you through a story. So don't jump the gun and try to keep talking. If it's a question of yes or no, just answer yes or no. Yeah,
because don't give them any ammo, because they're going to take that and run with it in the direction that is advantageous for them.
Yeah.
They're skilled at that.
Clarifying this, because I was her witness, I was answering everything the way she wants me to, answering honestly, and then the defense would come there, and if they were, I don't remember you'll have some of the questions for the defense, but at one point, the defense turned and made me feel like I was their witness. And that was when I was called a hostile witness, which I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
And that caused a stress level of, because I wasn't hostile. I was just talking like I am to you right now.
Yeah.
So it's a different explanation of a hostile witness.
Yeah, and you were declared a hostile witness by Marsha Clark, right?
Yeah.
By the prosecution. When did that happen? Do you remember?
Towards my end of testimony on either day 5 or 6. I don't remember. But yeah, it was, I didn't know the term of what it meant. So
you're going, that's the last phrase that could apply to you, would think. Hostile, right?
Hostile witness.
And
then it was, I probably went through a beyond stress level in my body, because I didn't. First of all, I'm up there going. I was thinking, I'm hostile. What did I do? And then the questioning started over, and as close as I am to you, she had a look at her face like she hated me.
Yeah. All right, let's play a quick clip of maybe just the beginning. And this is what started it all. Yeah. This is where everybody got to know you, and people couldn't leave their TV set. So we're gonna play a quick clip of you coming on, Marsha Clark, having you spell your name. Take it from there.
Mr. Kaelin, why don't you pull the microphone close to you there? Thank you. Ms. Clark. I'm sorry, forgot to ask him to state and spell his name.
Brian Kato Kaelin, Brian KatoKaelin.
Ms. Clark.
All right, Mr. Kaelin, is Kato your middle name?
A nickname.
Is that what people call you instead of Brian?
Yes.
You a little bit nervous today?
Feel great. A little nervous.
Hair looked good that day. Nice suit.
Yeah.
Put a lot of thought into that.
Actually, it was given to me by a late publicist. Gave me a coat, and years later he sold it for money. And that was like he gave me the coat, and then he wanted it back. It's a whole nother story. But you said that's when everybody got to know me, and that's actually not true, because in the preliminaries, when my life changed, actually, when I went to swear in for that, and I couldn't find after finding the Bible where I'm looking around, and then people sort of said, "Who is this character?" And that's where it kind of changed.
Yeah.
And then everybody knew my name.
Right. Did Marsha Clark walk you through what the questioning was going to be? Did you have a really good idea every day? Okay, we're going to start here. She's going to ask me these questions. Or were you just ready to answer whatever she fired at you?
No, I met with her. Sometimes I'd be there and I never even got on the stand. So usually it was a weekend, I would make a Saturday or Sunday and go down and meet with her. And I also met with the defense because my lawyer said you should meet with both sides. And even though you're a prosecuting witness. So I met with both sides. And so when I met with Marsha Clark, she would just go over questions like, I'll be asking you this. And she want to hear my answer. She's okay. Mm-hmm. And then she would make notes like you're doing and just kind of go, okay. She never said, this is what I'm going to ask you. She just kind of gave an outline of everything she asked.
Yeah. And then she got into it, basically wanting to find the background of your relationship with Nicole.
Yeah.
Right. And, my first thoughts just watching her again, man, I don't know. I thought she could have been a little softer, like right off the top. She almost had kind of this like accusatory tone or like, I don't know about this guy. Well, yeah. What's your relationship with? I mean, that's kind of how I read it. How about you? When she came out, because she's not warm, she's not fuzzy. You're not looking at her, being distracted by her look or anything.
Well, you know what? Actually, she was warm and fuzzy during those Saturday meetings before the trial. I thought, oh, okay, she's kind of a cool person. And she even said to me, when this is all over, we should grab lunch together. This is during I'm meeting her with me, and she has the Jim Morrison poster behind her desk, and
like she almost seemed like a cool lady.
I was like, okay,
down.
She's very cool to me, and I think she kind of understood who I was. She met with my lawyer, and I was her witness, and I was a team player, I thought, and so come the trial, I thought her not so much a 160, but definitely wasn't the same person that I met in the during the weekends.
Yeah. She could have given you a heads up. I mean, hey, Kato, when you see me in the courtroom, that's my playing field. That's where I have my game face on. I might come across a little differently, but she probably had a billion things going through her mind and everything that she had to do. You were one of many witnesses.
Right.
But you turned out to be one of the biggest witnesses by far. All right, we're going to play another clip. We're going to play the clip where Marsha Clark wanted to kind of like ask Kato about this background with Nicole. Kato's, they're probably thinking he's a player. Look at this good-looking dude from Milwaukee. Everybody thought you were from Malibu. Let's get to the genesis of this relationship with you and Nicole. So here's the trial back in 1995.
Mr. Kaelin, did you know someone by the name of Nicole Brown Simpson back in 1992?
Yes.
Can you tell us, please, how you met her?
In Aspen, Colorado.
And what was the event?
It was like a Christmas break, and I went with a buddy, and we met.
And what month was that, if you recall?
December.
Who was the buddy you were with that when you met Nicole Brown?
Grant Kramer.
Did you get involved in some kind of romantic relationship with her?
Did I?
Did you?
No. I said, Nicole, who lives back there? And she said, no one. And then I said, could I? And she says, well, if you do, you have to clean it out. And I said, great.
Was it not clean at that time?
There was furniture in there, treadmill, and a few other things.
Okay.
And that was it.
So did you make some agreement with her concerning paying rent, living there?
Yes.
And what was your agreement?
It'd be $450 to $500 for rent, and then take care of the kids. Nicole would take things off.
How long did you live at that house on Gretna Green?
Until January of '94. the beginning of January. Right there.
Why not?
I was going to move in, and I moved in at OJ's.
Why not? Why'd you do that?
Because OJ asked me to go to his house. I mean, it was part of the deal. I went there instead of moved in with Nicole.
What did the defendant say to you about moving into his house instead of Nicole's condominium or townhouse?
I mean, we talked about it, and it was sort of the right thing to do, that not to be in the same house, that I should probably go there, and OJ offered me his place. It was free, and he said, when you can stay as long as you want, and when it's time for you to go, he let me know.
Okay. Now, so did he indicate anything to you with respect to what he thought of the fact that you'd be living in the same house with Nicole Brown?
Well, they were trying to work things out, and I said that I understood. It wasn't, I thought maybe I shouldn't be a guy in the house, and I would go there. Kind of like that.
Did he indicate to you in some way that he thought it was inappropriate for you to be in the same house with her? Or you didn't like it?
Well, didn't like, but it probably wouldn't be right.
And why wouldn't it be right?
I don't know the answer.
Were you lovers?
No.
Just friends?
Friends.
Did you tell the defendant that?
Oh, he knew we were friends.
But he still didn't want you living in that house?
I guess, I mean, I didn't, and I guess not.
Okay.
Did you expect her to ask you if you guys were romantically involved?
I didn't, but I'm kind of glad she did, because people would know that I had no romance with Nicole at all. And then magazines started coming out. That was when 90s were total tabloid, and they had so many stories that there was a romance, and it was never true.
Yeah.
Never true. 100% total friendship.
Right.
with
Right.
her. You know, and people say you can't be friends with the women. No, I was definitely her friend, and there's no romance. And at that time, she was with a buddy of mine, and I'm the kind of guy that's gonna not, if a friend dates a girl, I'm never gonna go out with that same girl.
Yeah.
It's just sort of the man code.
And it's weird. It's,
Yeah.
it's kind of gross. So yeah, I totally get that. Okay, so then she wants to get into the relationship background, this trip to Aspen. So if you hadn't have gone to Aspen that week, your friend Grant wouldn't have met Nicole. This never would have happened. If you guys went a day later, or if you went to Vail instead of Aspen, Isn't that crazy? That weekend she was there, you were there, you happen to live close to each other in LA. I bet you think about that a lot, and just the randomness of that.
Everything random of how it was meant to be. And I've said so many times in interviews that everybody, you, me, Zeus, everybody's got their own blueprint of life. And that was part of the blueprint is going to happen in my life. I'm going to meet Nicole. Now, Grant knew her already from doing celebrity. Grant was a celebrity. He was on General Hospital. He did quite a few different movies. It was a stud of the 90s, huge actor. So he knew her from skiing at different events where OJ was with her. So their eyes locked because he was like, "Oh, that's Nicole Simpson." And then I said, "I don't know her." And then they start talking, and that was it.
Right.
It was the sparks kind of flying. They just hit it right off again.
Last June, we had a great conversation with Keith Zlomsowicz, Nicole's ex-boyfriend, who was running Mezzaluna in Aspen. And, the chemistry there, the fire, this instant attraction. Did Nicole and Grant have that? I mean, they hit it off right away. Well, did he tell you, "Hey, man, she's something else. She's different. I mean, there's something about her."
Well, we happened to bump into her at Aspen before the New Year's. It's a party everywhere. So we're kind of both bachelors, kind of roaming and just having an absolute ball. But when they met, probably on day one and at a night party, they never stopped seeing each other the rest of the trip. I was 100% the third wheel. And she was with Faye Resnick. I think she was with Faye and some other girlfriends. And that was it. That's where I made the trip. So this is all before anything of the trial. This is the first time meeting Nicole. And I happened to meet, Tom, this is a thing where it's star-studded. There's actors you see on every TV show. And it's like, wow, this is really cool. It's the invisible Hollywood. It was now visible to me. I saw it. And I hit it off with an actress that I met, and her name at the time, it's Catherine Oxenberg, and she was on the #1 show called Dynasty. And then she and I hung out the rest of the trip. And from that, we start seeing each other for a month or maybe 2 months. And she was kind of a superstar.
Right. So many things happened on that trip.
And I was this guy that she's in this mansion she lived in, and I'm just this guy who's got a job in a casting business, and I'm playing way out of my league. But then I start thinking, I'm not out of my league. I'm all about fun, and I made her just crack up constantly.
Yeah, and you know what? Who knows? I mean, that could have been a regular occurrence. I mean, that could have been your life going forward. Just hanging out, meeting the cool people, you getting acting gigs, right? And then just everything changed because of that chance meeting. And then she really got into how you ended up at Rockingham, what the situation was like at Gretna Green, and why you didn't move into Bundy with her.
Well, exactly. And when I went from Hermosa Beach, I would drive up to Grant, where we had an office in Westwood, and literally it would take on a good day, hour and 45 minutes, and the go home, it would take 2 hours, 20 minutes. So I was spending 4 hours on the road. And then when I saw the guest house in Gretna Green, and I already had this friendship with her because they'd been seeing each other for weeks, and Nicole threw some parties at the Gretna Green night, and the kids liked me, and they said, Kato can move into the guest house. That's how it all started. And, Nicole had a party, when I just never forget sitting at the party, and I think it might've been Nicole's birthday party. But there was Marcus Allen was there, and I'm talking to this Latin woman, and we are hitting it off and just laughing. And she goes, "Oh, I do a soap opera in Mexico." And we're talking, and I go, "Well, what's your name?" And after I'm making her crack up, she goes, "Oh, my name's Selma Hayek." And so she goes, "I'm out here. I'm going to be really famous."
She called her shot.
Now I'm married to a billionaire. And I saw her years later when I did the Magic Johnson show. And I said, "Do you remember me?" And she goes, "Of course I do." And I'll never forget that. I didn't even have to finish the sentence. I go, "Do you remember?" And she was, "Of course I do."
Man, she sounds strategic. I'm going to be a star. I'm going to marry a billionaire. She did that too. I don't know if she called her shot there, but because she was, she's gorgeous. And she's in her 50s.
This is 1995.
Right. She was in that big movie with Matthew Perry back then. Remember when they got Fools Rush In?
93.
No, not Fools Rush In.
Well, she's in that. She's in tons of movies.
Yeah.
I think it was
Fools Rush In was Doug Ellen's movie. And the other
Matthew Perry.
Yeah, the Matthew Perry movie, right. Doug Ellen directed this movie called Fools Rush In.
Yeah.
It was with David Schwimmer. But she was in that other one. It had a phrase from a wedding or whatever. But that was a great movie where she lived in Vegas with him. A really good movie. No, she was gorgeous. That's insane. Let me ask you this. It was cool that OJ offered you the bungalow for free. Okay?
Right.
Now, could there possibly have been another motive for OJ to do that because he knew how comfortable you were around Nicole and how comfortable she felt around you? And think about it. You're in a marriage or something. You're in a relationship. If the kids are home and there's less stress in the house, it's good.
Yeah.
Or if you have like an aunt that comes over and visit and it calms the tension. He probably knew this could be volatile again with him trying to get back together. But if Kato was nearby, that could maybe bring the temperature down a little bit and just having your presence. Do you think, other than just, hey, you want a free place to stay?
Well, he saw me with the kids many times now. And the kids, I think they talked about me constantly. And I probably said some good things. I was never the babysitter, nothing. But yes, if they needed a ride from school, I'd pick them up. I'd hang out. I'd do homework with them. I'd do after sports, anything I would do if I was available, not working. So I think that was part of it. That's what she loved, and that's what the kids loved. And OJ saw this guy's no threat.
Yeah.
And later I found out from a private detective years later that he had a private detective check me out, and the private detective said
you passed.
This is later. I'm just in Century City. He goes, "You don't know me, but I was a guy that was hired by OJ," he told me, and I could not find any terrible thing. I just want you to know that I've done this job forever. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not, and this is not being cocky. I'm telling you what he said.
Right.
And he goes, "But everybody that I interviewed liked you." And he goes, "It's never happened before. There's always something that someone doesn't like about a person." I said, "Well, you made my day."
Yeah.
So, in hindsight, I'm glad I never had that relationship with Nicole. But when she asked me out of Gretna Green to move into a house in Bundy, I just felt it was going to be an uncomfortable thing because you could only get closer to a person being in the same house, or I just knew it wasn't right. And I love her, and I just didn't. It wasn't. I knew it wasn't right for me to move into the house. And OJ at that time didn't. He knew I was kind of looking for a place. He came up and goes, until you find a place, you can go move into a bungalow.
No, I think it's 100% the right thing.
Yeah, I never asked to move into OJ's.
Right, he asked you. Yeah, and you said, okay, sure, if you're offering. Because it's like a work environment when a married man and a married woman are working together for 8 hours a day or going on work trips. I mean, they're just around too much. And I could see how you would look at that and think, maybe not, right? And plus, you were a single guy. I mean, you didn't want like any lines crossed. And then you always have to think down the road too. I don't want to ruin this friendship. Like what if something happened here and then you're not friends anymore? You valued the friendship to not want to do anything. Did any of your friends predict, Kato, your life's going to change as soon as you get on that witness stand because of your personality, because of your look, your hair, you had this vibe, right?
No one ever said that. It didn't go until after I testified. Because there was over 250 witnesses, and I just thought it was going to be a witness, and that would be the end of it. I didn't know the whole. When you're sitting there, you don't know what's going out to the world. You didn't know, and then I found out later that my testimony was the highest rated ever in history of pizza sales, and it's like all these bizarre facts come out afterward. That these are once again, I'm speaking out from not cockiness, just humbleness, but I would see what people would besides the pizza, more people recognize me than Al Gore, and which by the way, I invented the internet. No, so it was like all these facts, and it's hard to read these and not, that's why you've got family to keep you humble, that you don't get like. I was this guy that I know 100%. I became famous because of a horrific situation, but I was there in the stand. I didn't know my life was going to change. It just changed.
Yeah.
I wish I was a multi-gazillionaire. I'm not, but
hey, it's like you walked into the middle of a tsunami or something, right? I mean, your whole life, just everything swirling around you. It'd be so weird. I mean, you were known and popular. I mean, you probably had, but more of an anonymous lifestyle, obviously in LA. And then you go out and then everybody knows who you are. Back then, everybody watched TV. If you're young now, you don't watch TV. People don't watch. My kids don't really watch TV. They watch apps. They watch YouTube.
Right.
They watch TikTok. Right? That's what they do.
It's amazing, right?
So but back then, that's all you could do. The local news, the national news, people watched that. The anchors were big stars, and if someone was in the middle of this, you're a big star. I mean, you just can't. So you didn't watch the news coverage like the day after your coverage or that night or after your testimony?
No, I never watched it. When I was sequestered, I paid attention to it. I didn't watch stuff. I heard about stories that were coming out. They're awful from the tabloid shows, and I would tell my mom, "Don't. There's going to be something bad," because they were tipped off by the lawyers of. And if I had to watch like a current affair, then I'd watch that, and there was a blatant lie, and. Had I known to have lawsuits back then or to have things that were so negative about me, I just I didn't do that.
Yeah. Hey, we're starting a membership pretty soon, and one of those things will involve you, our viewers, members of our membership being able to ask Kato personal questions and having him answer. Maybe we'll go down to the courthouse one day too and have you ask us questions right there. So watch for more details on this membership, but that's the kind of thing where you can actually ask Kato some questions about the trial. Here's one I have for you, Kato. This one nobody really talked about.
I'll be their Uber driver for a day. Okay.
That's going to be one of the offers on our membership. Okay. You got to fly out to LA if you don't live here. He'll drive you around. He'll pick you up at the airport. Okay. So this was a fascinating thing when I looked back at this to prepare for this episode. The house cleaner, Michelle, what the hell was her story? Because you were telling the court when you were being questioned that she didn't like you. She didn't want you there. What was the deal with Michelle?
In the beginning, Michelle liked me. She thought I was great, but then she would come into my room to clean or whatever. I made my own bed, but nothing for her to do. And she would just keep going, "You got to go. You got to get out of here. You got to get out." She kind of wanted. It felt like she wanted OJ for herself. She was an Israeli soldier. She was born in Israel, and she was a soldier. So. I was blown away because I couldn't believe that she was being negative to me because she acted like she loved me. And I just remember every morning she would make OJ carrot juice in a juicer that he would have his carrot juice, and I'd go running, and she would just. And I was never even really around that much because I had a casting business,
right?
So I was never a bother. I never made a mess there. I wasn't. I was surprised that she
Yeah.
even cared. Like, you would not even notice that I was on this huge lot.
Yeah.
I just had my little entrance.
I found it interesting how you didn't hold back when you were talking about her. Yeah. I mean, you didn't like sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
You were pretty clear that for some reason she didn't want you there.
Yeah.
Even from day one, you thought, and my thought too was that the extra work, she had to clean another bungalow every day. But I mean, it's not like you were there making a huge mess anyway.
Yeah.
And you said she would come in uninvited sometimes.
She would come through and just start cleaning the room, but I would just say, there's nothing to clean. There really wasn't. It was, I made my bed in the morning. That's really pretty much it. I didn't hang out at the house too much. I had friends. I'd go out. I had my entrance, and I don't think she liked Nicole at all either.
Interesting. You think she had something with OJ?
No.
Okay. Okay. And then, a big part of your testimony obviously was the whole McDonald's run, OJ's demeanor. Did you see a cut on his finger? This. You probably were asked that 100 times. Were you like freaking out almost thinking, I've got to answer this perfectly? Or I could get myself in trouble if I say something wrong here.
Well, I'll tell you, Tom, I would just say that I would ask you 2 days ago, what did you have for dinner? Do you really remember what you had for dinner 2 days ago?
No.
And do you remember what you
I could
wore
probably
2
figure it
days?
out. I'd need some time, but barely.
Right. And so you start overplaying stuff in your head like, wait a minute, did he get that? Did he have that? So you keep going over it because you never really try to memorize your day. And that's why I said I'm committed now to my life with timelines and everything I do and what I ate. It's because of the trial. But the McDonald's was definitely a somber trip. Just he didn't want. I could feel he did not want me in the car.
And then the whole exchange of money, him looking for you to break 100, you handing him, which hand did you hand it to him? Which hand did he pay with? Did you look at the other hand? I mean, they were getting like, how the hell do you remember that?
Yeah, I didn't remember that. But I remember that, he came to the room twice, I think, which was really unusual. He said I didn't turn the jacuzzi off. And, 30 years ago, I don't remember taking the jacuzzi. Then I said, yeah, I did take it because I was so sore. I played basketball. So I asked if I could take a jacuzzi. And he said he came by the room to say, hey, you forgot to turn the jacuzzi off, which I guarantee I did because that's something I just would have done out of respect. And then he came by to see if I could have 100. I kept, in my head, I'm going, kind of weird that he came by my room. Never did before in 6 months, but he came by that night. And then I remember that one of the questioning Robert Shapiro said, well, why is that hard to believe? It's his house, right? So I was like, yeah, I was just saying, I said to the lawyer, Robert Shapiro, just like that, I go, yeah, I'm just saying he had never done that before. So, and you're on stand thinking, you always try to play it ahead, like, what's he trying to get at? Are they trying to make me look like a liar? Are they trying to pin something on me or whatever? So you never know you're going in there and you want to make sure you're, my deer in the headlights look is because I'm making sure I'm saying everything, first of all, truthfully, but I'm saying it correctly. Yeah. Like, so I'm thinking without knowing the cameras are there, but I'm thinking like that of, God, I got to answer this correctly.
Yeah. Did you do anything different with your hair that week? Or do you felt it looked the same every single day?
I ran every morning, so I don't know, whatever I did that, but I had my same routine, whatever happened to my hair. So it's funny you said that because, you have to understand at the time, like you said, everybody's watching it. Everybody's offering me free things, even to wear shirts to their clothing line or a shirt that promotes something. I'm going, are you serious? And offered money to do that stuff and haircut of going out to get my hair done differently. And I thought if I do that, it'll really look like I'm part of playing it to it. So I just said, just stay with what you're doing. Don't change. Yeah,
it reminds me of that Entourage episode. Remember when Johnny Drama was on the Jimmy Kimmel show and they wore that hat about the speaker store and then they got the whole house hooked up? I mean, yeah, you'd have those offers. You could have a motorcycle, a car, a sauna put in your home, whatever you wanted. Because of the exposure there. That's a commercial you could never pay for these companies. Right. And you were saying that people were literally offering you this coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I was working out at the place at the time. It was called the Boulevard. The Boulevard's right next to New Line Cinema. And it was the where to be seen kind of health club. So, because I was at trial, I moved in that area right by the Ivy on Robertson. So I lived there across the street. I could walk right to the club. And they had at the time, there's a restaurant called the Newsroom. And it was who's who. Sure. Like, once again, I always think of Invisible Hollywood, but it was Shoshana and Jerry Seinfeld were dating at the time. They were at the health club. Randy Quaid, I remember he was always cool to me on a Stairmaster. It was tons of comedians. Everybody worked out at this place called the Boulevard. I don't know if it's there anymore.
No, right across the street from the Ivy now is a restaurant called the Henry.
Yeah. I see.
And then there's some other, like, there used to be a bridal boutique there and some other things, but I know exactly where you're talking about. The health club's no longer there.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was amazing. And David Spade would do the joke on Saturday Night Live, and I forget that I'd be in the Stairmaster, and Spade doing Kato going, I'm gonna do another level.
Yeah.
And he's doing all my,
Funny you mentioned that, Kato.
Yeah.
Funny you mentioned that. Why don't we take a little trip down memory lane? David Spade, cast of Saturday Night Live, Norm Macdonald, Weekend Update. I'm going to get Kato's impression or interpretation of David Spade playing him as a witness. Here's that clip.
Kato spent 4 days on the witness stand this week, making it the longest job he has ever held. And now let's take a look at some of his testimony from earlier this week. Sorry.
Mr. Kaelin, are you nervous?
A little, yes.
Please tell the court, Mr. Kaelin, what it is you do for a living.
I'm an actor.
Oh, really? An actor? And what kind of parts have you had, Mr. Kaelin?
I did a couple of horror films, and I hosted Talk Soup. I think I did a good job.
Would you say you did a better job than the guy who hosts it now?
Yes, I would.
And do you know the new guy's name?
No, I don't.
Okay, and how were the ratings for Talk Soup when you hosted?
I believe they were very high, somewhere around a 1.6.
Wow. Sounds high to me.
It is for cable.
Do you have any other special talents?
I do an impression of a Stairmaster going to a higher level.
Can you please perform that Stairmaster impression for the court? That's not very funny, Mr. Kaelin.
That guy was laughing.
Noted. Noted. It also says here you can do a dog barking. Do you think this is something the court needs to hear?
Yes, I do.
So, then, Mr. Kaelin, you're saying that was the sound Nicole Simpson's dog made the night of the murders?
No, that's a small dog. I can't do big dogs.
Mr. Kaelin, you're useless.
Yes, I am.
Wait, just stay for one sec, because this is the guy who did the best imitation ever, and I just get part of it.
One with the newest member of OJ's dream team, lawyer Nathan Thurm.
So, why did the defense
That's him
change
playing
the
both.
story from
Mike
that
Myers.
OJ was asleep to
Martin
OJ was
Short.
practicing his golf swing in the backyard? No, he didn't. Yes, you did. You think we did? I read it in the newspaper. I know you did. I know that. You don't think I know that? I have access to all the files. I would know that. What about the bloody glove? What about the bloody glove? Well, how did it get to OJ's? You're so smart, you tell me. Marine to Marine. But you weren't in the Marines. Yes, I was. No, you weren't.
This character.
Can you believe how boring he is? Mr. Thurm, you seem somewhat defensive. I'm not defensive. You're the one who should be defensive. You're the one who's attempting a variety show with no apparent talent and that smarmy 70s hairdo that makes you look like a poor man's John Davidson, as if a rich man's John Davidson was anything to be proud of.
Okay, we were cracking up watching that in the studio. It's funny. And then, of course, you got to throw that useless line at the end, right? But at that point, you're just used to being, the brunt of a joke.
Yeah, the butt of a joke. So, yeah, and then I got to meet Spade quite a few times.
Yeah.
And break bread with him. So it was funny. Norm played basketball with. But Dana Carvey did it too, and I think one of the best, if not the best, was Martin Short.
Yeah.
So but people can research this stuff.
Sure.
They send me stuff of Martin Short did this thing where I'm Gilligan's Island. So
how long did that fire continue? Because the trial ended in October of 1995. You testified in March. But you did a lot of big interviews. Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters.
I would say definitely 2 years.
Yeah.
Of that, it kept going on and on and on.
All right. Well, the reason it did is because you just had some priceless moments during the trial, right? There were 3 or 4 like laugh out loud moments. Not when you were like working on new material and trying to be funny, but you just couldn't help it with your response.
Right. And by the way, exactly. I was not. I just want people to know. I seriously was not trying to be funny. It's a double homicide. Nothing funny. But I answered the questions as. I just answered questions as me, the person me, not expecting a laugh, but then, once again, people would come up to me still today and to say that it was a horrific situation, and they wanted to say that you brought light, a light, not making light of it, but a light. So I, how do you answer that? I was just like, well, I'd say thank you. So I look at it that way.
Yeah, it's impossible to answer that question correctly because that's what you do. You couldn't help it. It wasn't your intent, but anybody that knows you know that. And it was levity, I thought. I thought the courtroom really probably could use that. There was so much stress and tension in that room at all times because those laughs were really heartfelt, right? I mean, they were like legitimate guffaws. So 3 or 4 of those funny Kato moments, we got to play them for you, and we'll get Kato to react to them right now. Check out this clip.
Did you think that your friendship with him, your acquaintanceship, especially living on his property, might send acting roles your way?
I didn't think that. I never asked. I was hopefully getting things on my own. But so if he'd bring it up on his own. I don't think we're going for the same parts.
What I'm getting, you seem real excited to have you come.
Sustained.
Wouldn't you?
Sustained.
I have not seen that stuff. This is 30 years. This is. I look at it as a different person. Sort of like I like that kid. I did not try. That was just me, my personality.
Everybody knows that, right? Everybody that knows you or has seen you over the last 30 years knows you, but that I could tell that really moved. I mean, it has to be like an out of body experience watching that.
Yeah, honestly, it really, really was. I'm telling you, I've not seen that clip like that since you showed me on the show of my testimony. Wow.
Yeah. And it started right off the top where you got that audience. Now, it wasn't your intent. You weren't working on material.
Yeah.
But they laughed hard. The first one was where she was asking you if you were nervous.
Yeah.
And you said no, and then a little nervous, right?
Yeah. I believe me, in your court, you never even think that there's going to be a laughter coming out of a courtroom. And then they laughed, and then I sort of felt like they're human. This is a very human experience going on right now. I'm answering questions. I'm sworn in, and whatever happened, cathartically, I guess it just happened.
Yeah. And I think that's when everybody could see the human element of you too, right? You are human because the first impression is this guy came from the sand, from the surf, got a couple rides in, caught a couple waves that morning and has come to testify. Little they know you're from Milwaukee, but I mean, come on, that was the natural perception.
You're exactly right. And I wasn't a surfer. I mean, since then I've got shows that I've been able to surf on, but I'm not a surfer. The web maybe, but that's it. And it was so funny because and which isn't a bad thing. You just associate that person being, everybody makes a judgment immediately, like, who's the stoner?
But again, that humanized you just with that, admitting that, you're a little nervous.
I think people, honestly, watching this now, like I said, Tom, I have not seen it. Watching it, I think I became relatable to so many people. And I felt that watching it, like an out-of-body experience. I felt like, I can relate to this guy.
That's crazy that you're watching.
It's crazy.
You're watching yourself as a viewer watched you back then.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and then the other one was when they were grilling you about what did you think by living in OJ's bungalow this was going to help your acting career, and then she kept going. She kept going. Like I don't know what she was trying to pull from you at that moment.
That's kind of when I thought she was being mean to me. Like, I didn't know what she was going exactly, because you felt it yourself, saying she's pulling. I didn't know what she was trying to get at. Like, she's showing that I'm the freeloader or something, and she's just, that's what I couldn't figure out myself. And then I said what I said. We weren't going for the same parts.
I know, but you deliver those lines with such great timing, like a comedian would, right? With comedic timing, like you just kind of dropped it in there at the end.
Yeah.
And the place roared again. I mean, I don't think we're going for the same parts. I mean, this is when he was most famous for being Nordberg, right? That was his big role. Everybody saw him in the Hertz commercial. Obviously, he's an actor, had a lot of roles.
By the way, Roseanne Barr, who's going to do our show soon, I'll do hers. She said exactly what you're saying, that she just said, and she's a great comedian. She goes, you got perfect timing and everything. And then I became her friend and sort of thing. And she brought that up again because I was funny at an Adam Carolla event with her. Mm-hmm. And then hearing it from someone that's a respected comedian, you go, wow.
Well, that's everything to them. Timing is everything.
Yeah,
and you got to learn it. You're not really born with it.
Yeah,
but you either have it or you don't at some point, but you had it. Yeah, we're not going for the same parts. I mean, OJ was laughing. I bet everybody in that room was laughing, and it allowed them to take a breath, right? Okay, this is intense testimony. Every word matters. Where were you? What did you do? What were you thinking? What was your intent? We weren't going for the same parts, and they all roar. That was amazing. And then when Marsha Clark's talking to you about going to McDonald's, and man, that is the most discussed trip to McDonald's of anybody in the history of the planet. You and OJ going to McDonald's on June 12th, 1994. No trip to McDonald's is more famous than that, obviously. But man, a lot of network TV time was spent talking about that. And then she got to the point where what was OJ's reaction, knowing, that you would go with him.
Right. And then I think she said, did he seem excited? Right. And then you heard, I just said, well, wouldn't you? And I was saying it to her, directly to her, as if we should go to McDonald's together sometime. Right? I mean, that's the...
Oh my God. But that's literally, it's like you were in the office with her on a Saturday prepping.
Yeah.
He's just kicking it with her.
Yeah, that was exactly it. That was like her asking me, wouldn't you? And it came out that way. It came out...
Yeah.
It came out cathartic. It was real emotion.
Right. And yeah, because... it's almost like it's a different life for you, and then you watch this.
It's Tom, 100%. So different watching it. I'm not reviewing it as me, I feel like. As I'm reviewing it as me looking at this Brian Kato Kaelin, going, oh, I get it. But it's me. And that's just, honestly, it's really bizarre doing the show today. It is.
And that's why I asked you cool with doing this? Because I knew it would trigger some emotion, right? It was like our visit to the OJ sites last year. I think it's an important show to do. It's very entertaining. Viewers love it. And I think it's good for you to go back there and go through some of those steps again. Why don't you? And you almost have to be proud of yourself too, though, right? Because thinking about all the pressure that you were under at that moment, and to think that you were able to slip in a couple lines, not intentionally, but that did really lighten things up and make an impact and show everybody that, hey, I'm not this guy that you may think I am, right?
Right. You know what I did? After every day I called my family. I called my family, find out what's going on, and then I saw that all the shows were camped out at the house in Milwaukee. They always are putting a camera on there, and Larry King let me have my mom call in. I'll never forget that experience. My late mom, who was just the most beautiful woman in the world, funny as can be. So Larry, she called in on the Larry King show. I thought that was just top shelf of Larry to do that. And so I had to hear my mom's voice throughout the whole 90s because she would cry all the time.
Wow.
And she was feeling the stress of her son. I'm sure she heard the butt of me being these jokes, like, why do they say that about my boy? And, okay, you know how moms are. So as a mom, it's okay. I can take it.
And that's a year after her living through the thought that, were you killed?
Yeah.
Remember when there was no word about who the male was for a little bit, and she knew that you lived there and thought it might have been you. Okay, there was one other absolutely hilarious line that you had. Everybody remembers it, talking about McDonald's and referring to the quarter pounder, the Big Mac, the fries, and you described OJ's burger as the main course. Walk us through that moment, KatoKaelin, the main course.
I think it was, I was at a loss of words and I couldn't think of what to say. And I just said the main course. It was a 5-star Michelin dinner. A 5-star McDonald's, right?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Zagat,
Zagat,
whoever.
But you know what? She made such a big deal out of this meal and the food and the order of eating it and taking it and paying for it. And you're thinking, how do I describe this in a different way? And then, okay, the main course, right? I guess that's what you referred to the burger
It wasn't
as.
French fry, it was the burger. It was sort of that. And I don't remember. I think I paid, if I remember, I already gave him 40. So it was paid out of that. I don't know if I handed it or what. I think I did, though. I can't remember in 30 years, but it's in the testimony.
I read the transcript, Kato.
I paid, right?
I object. It was actually OJ. You gave him the money.
Okay.
You gave him the money, 220s, right, and then he paid with one of the money.
But I might have gave him money in the car.
Yeah, because she wanted to know which hand OJ paid with.
Right.
Did you notice a cut on his finger when he took the change?
I did not. So
right.
I didn't look.
And that's actually big because they wanted to prove that cut happened like an hour later when he was committing the murders.
So and what did he do with his food?
He ate it?
And he drove at the same time?
Yes.
And he did that on the way back to the house at Rockingham?
Yes.
Did you eat your food as well?
No, I had a few French fries, but that was it. I didn't eat the main course.
So, you can call it that? So he drove and he ate his dinner at the same time on the way back to Rockingham?
Yes.
Did you notice any injury to his hands at that time?
No, I did not.
Or bleeding?
No.
So yeah, those lines were absolutely epic. I mean, they were hilarious. Was there anything that you were most remembered for? Like, did people come up to you, that McDonald's line, or were there any specific parts of your testimony that became larger than life? Or was it just that the fact that you did testify and introduce yourself to the world as KatoKaelin?
Yeah, I just think the introduction, but I think probably more people remember the words "wouldn't you," and it just kind of became I guess nowadays it'd be a meme, and because it's short and it's 2 words, and people would always come up to me, "Wouldn't you?" And I've heard that forever. I mean, obviously 30 years, I still hear it, but I don't hear it like I heard 1,000 times a day back then.
Just came up with a great idea. We're launching our membership. We're going to roll out some merch that it's going to say, "Wouldn't you?" We're going to have one that says the main course. And maybe we'll have one that says "a little nervous."
have the one with my hair, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got a surprise for you at the end of the show. Don't go anywhere. Don't even think of leaving this episode. Let's get a little more serious for a second, because a big part of this testimony was OJ's demeanor when he got back from McDonald's, what you did after that. You were in your bungalow. You're talking to Rachel. The name is out. Rachel, she lived, I forgot where she lived, a ways away, because you guys were
Palms.
Okay, you were negotiating who's going to drive where, who's going to go here. You've always described it as kind of a June gloom type vibe, and that's where here in Southern California, it's gray, it's cloudy, and then it'll break around noon.
Yeah.
It's called May gray during the month of May, and then June gloom, and you're thinking, is it going to be a crappy day? And then the sun's out, right? So that's what it was. And that only adds to the eerie, kind of ominous vibe of this whole thing. But let's go back to that, because it is so critical. And the thumps, was it 2 thumps? Was it 3 thumps? You had to walk them through that. And then both sides had a shot at you because they wanted to interpret it a little bit different way. They almost use you. It was almost like a tug of war, with you being in the middle, with the defense team and the prosecution team seeing what they could extract from you that would help them the most. And then your head's almost like on a swivel. Didn't I just say that? No, you said it a different way. Let me read this back, right? I don't know if there's a question there, but
no, but you're exactly right. There was I thought I answered this question already. Then they would change it, and everybody was trying to find out exactly. Well, the thumps. First of all, in the first trial, I had no idea that I could have got up to demonstrate. I wish I would have, because it was louder. It was a sort of powerful, loud noise that moved the picture. So that became, as we all know, the bloody glove was found back there.
No doubt in your mind, that's what it was. The thumps.
Yeah, I think how can we prove it? But I think it's the air conditioner, because there's no room in there. And if someone's hopping over there, you don't know there's an air conditioner, and you would definitely put your hand up again, lean in. Maybe it was and then boom.
Yep.
And the third was the loud thump.
Right. And if you think about it, the timeline works. When else could that glove have gotten there? Because he was immediately going to get in the limo with Alan Park, go to the airport. He had to cross over that way to get back in this roundabout way he was doing it. That would be the only time. And then if it was a distinctive thump that you heard, what else could it have been? Because you didn't hear thumps like that regularly, right?
No, it's definitely something noise, and there's no windows. There's nothing. The window I have is to my door in the front, and then there's the window I could look out to the pool area. But the wall is just a wall where which if someone climbs the over the fence from the other person's property, he'd would hit his head or hit something on the air conditioning unit.
Yeah, we're going to show a little B-roll here. Another great part was when they were breaking down the bungalow, the layout, right? And KatoKaelin with the pointer. That's a dresser. That's a bed. Right? You remember doing that? They had the big. Oh my God!
I gotta see it, but I remember I remember Kato's place. It said or whatever it said.
Yeah.
I remember looking at that, going and looking at my bed.
Yeah.
With respect to photograph B, sir, can you tell us what's shown in that photograph?
This shot was taken like from the office spot area. The bathroom, air conditioner, a bed, same bed, and this is like what the phone is and nightstand.
Yeah, so Kato, that it was just another day at the trial, right? And this time, it probably felt good to stand up and move around and do a little bit and answer some easy questions. Yes, that is a bed. That is a dresser.
Yeah, and I'm looking at that in my room because that's the first time I actually see a picture of it. So it's sort of different. So I'm even making sure with the pointer. Yeah, that's my bed. That's my dresser.
I was waiting for a funny Kato line there at some point.
Yeah. I could have said, but
a lot of the ladies know what I'm talking about. That bed over. No, I'm kidding. And then I played you the clip of. And this is just typical. Like every word mattered. And you asked me if I could remember what I had for dinner 2 days ago. No, not really. I could think about it. And you had to come up with the exact phrasing for what you allegedly told OJ or the detectives or whatever. And one instance was when you would ask the detectives when they showed up at your bungalow if there was a plane crash, right? Because you were startled. They wake you up about 5 in the morning, 4:35 in the morning. Do you remember that exchange?
Yeah, completely. Well, not word for word, but I do remember like I said, 4 people at the door. I assumed they were police, detectives. I opened the door and asked them, I said, come on in. And I just said, and my first reaction was, OJ, it's his house. They go, did his plane crash? If 4 detectives are at your door, I didn't think murder. I thought something happened to OJ. And the last thing I know, he's going to the airport. So I was assuming the last thing was, oh my God, it was an airplane crash. That was it.
Mm-hmm. Because why else would they be there? How else could he have died?
Right.
But then she made such a big deal grilling you about exactly how you said it. Did you say OJ's plane or did you say a plane or the plane?
And I didn't know what that even meant.
Right. In your mind, you're probably processing that going, is there a difference?
Yeah. So and I wonder what the reason was. Because did he own his own plane? Maybe she's trying to think. Is it OJ's plane or was it whatever? Or it was American Airline, I guess, because Skip Junis. I remember that. So I go, I was just thinking, did a plane crash? That's the only reason I could think of having 4 detectives at my door.
Would you say that's the most intense that you've had to just focus ever in your life? Like, did you like really dial in on every single question? And there wasn't a moment where you were thinking of anything else other than how do I answer this perfectly?
I think I was overthinking. I was thinking, I think part of it was that I kept thinking, are they trying to trick me? Am I being tricked? And so I was kind of taking my time answering the question because I thought, this is kind of a silly, the plane and certain questions of over and over. Was it, did his hand have a cut or was there a plane? I mean, was it his plane? And I didn't know why she kept asking the same questions. I was like, isn't she hurting her own case right now with the jury just going, we get it, move on.
Yeah. Did you ever have any interaction with the witnesses? Could you tell if they were paying attention?
Witnesses or jury?
Or excuse me, the jurors. Did they have any like facial reactions or?
I looked over a few times, but they had a very strict look on their face some of the times. Mm-hmm. But there definitely was waves to OJ a few times that I saw.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I thought I think they smiled a lot at me. Mm-hmm. I think I saw some smiles. And it was bizarre. Like I said, I'm never in a courtroom. But I remember Robert Shapiro after questioning me one day, and there's breaks in the courtroom where the cameras are off, and I'm still sitting there, and it's not like a commercial, but there's something going on. Where Robert Shapiro came up to me and asked me if I would get his son an autograph and to do a photo with him, and I thought. I thought I was being tricked again, but yeah. The next day or whatever, his son came in before I testified, and we did a photo and an autograph.
I mean, that's not normal. That's not normal.
It was different.
I mean, you were a witness for the prosecution. So technically they were the adversary. This was the defense. And the lawyer's asking you to do a photo with his son.
Yeah.
That just, boom, that had to cement the fact that this is a surreal experience.
Yeah,
this
completely. I didn't know if that was even legal in a courtroom to do, even though it wasn't that part on the trial. I think it was his son's name was Grant.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, another thing that we are going to do, if you're into it, with this membership, I would love to like watch a lot of your testimony live with you with some members that want to pay for that opportunity to watch and get your real-time reaction. You think about that, but I think it'd be something really, really interesting. Maybe you just have no desire to do it, but what did you think about having the opportunity to see some of these clips today?
Like I said, it was out-of-body experience. Like that was a different person. It was Kato, but it was, my God, I was just seeing this with you for the first time. It's very different, but I think it's different in a very good way that, looking at that and seeing how other people would relate to that and how I looked at it as, I know it's me, but I still looked at it differently as if it's a relatable person.
Mm-hmm.
And now I understand why people, they didn't understand that I was a human being right there. I could see how people would think it's a character or a soap opera character, not a real person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it's not, but I could see how people could make that assumption.
Yeah, it's almost like you kind of want to reach over there and give that guy a hug. Right? Tell him it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's what I felt.
Okay, and another question.
It's amazing, 30 years that I'm looking at this with you, and it's different.
Yeah.
It's a very different experience.
I mean, I was watching it. I was working in the newsroom.
Yeah.
Channel 5 and NBC in Chicago. I mean, it was just such a big deal at the time. It's unbelievable. Okay, here's another question to think of. 30 years later, you haven't really changed as a person. What people saw from you testifying is who KatoKaelin is. And I think that's the great thing about our podcast is they see you on a regular basis twice a week for an hour, and they realize that's who you obviously are. What do you think the 1995 version of Kato sitting in that witness stand would think of the Kato today? Knowing everything that you'd have to endure and deal with that would be thrown at you because of this experience. What do you think that Kato would think about this Kato?
I think that Kato would really like that Kato. I think that Kato would think that I think he's a really, really great person that he's same morals, same values, and he would look at him that way.
Mm-hmm.
But he'd probably go, hope he makes some money, Kato. Yeah. hope he that's what I think.
Right.
But he definitely like him and just think that, I think he just look at your survivor.
Mm-hmm. Could you, if you had an opportunity to have time with Marsha Clark or a Darden or, one of the members of the Dream Team, do you wish you could have that opportunity? Would you say, hey, why'd you ask me that question? Why'd you treat me like that? Or do you think it was all in the heat of battle?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think that I would look at them as as part of their past, part of my past, and absolutely no grudges on anybody's end, defense or prosecution. And I would think it'd be a hug moment, maybe. I don't know. But, even after the trial, I think Geraldo invited me over. We all played basketball, and I was playing basketball with Chris Darden. So,
Well, you guys are in a fraternity, in a rare fraternity. You guys experienced this. Everybody watched it. No one can understand what it was like except for the people there.
Yeah.
Right? And you all had different jobs to do, right? You had a job to tell the truth, explain what you saw, what you knew. Prosecution tried to convict O.J. Simpson, and the defense team tried to get him off.
And I also think about certain people I met along the way. And we had Jim Moran on our show, and I remember bowling with Jim as one of the segments for CNN at the time. And when Jim did our show of what he said, these kind words to me, I'm hoping that not just Jim and a lot of people think those same kind words. Not that it's like I said, not a cockiness or me, but it made me. His words meant a lot to me, and I'm hoping that's what the whole America or the world thinks. Because it mattered to me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because you've got two guests on that I think deserve some credit. Kato and Detective Lang were both much maligned during the trial, and I think unfairly. I think Kato had a great deal of pressure on him. He lived, he was a house guest. He was known as America's house guest, right? He had a lot of pressure. He was afraid. He was very maligned, as was Detective Van Adder. I think that and Detective Lang. I think the LAPD did an excellent job of investigating this case. I think that there were rightfully, when you're a defendant, you want to attack everything you can. I don't take that away from the defense at all. But I think a lot of mistakes were made on the prosecution side on who to put on as witnesses. But I have to say I respect both of your guests tremendously. And through the years, they've only shown themselves to be of the highest quality and character. So I want to just say that and put that on the record.
Yeah. No, thanks, Jim. That's very well said.
I appreciate it.
I'm sure we're going to read about it in the comments. So give us your thoughts on this episode. This was really great to have Kato open up like this, share this, experience this with him, right? He probably never thought he'd be doing this. This wasn't on his bingo card for today, but I'm glad we did it.
And there's only one Kato, but Tom, I would like you to put something on, become one of the 400.
Oh, is that right? Okay. How about we take a quick break and we come back and see what the hell he's talking about. Be right back.
I got what I was looking for. I got what I was looking for. I got what I was looking for.
She got what she was looking for.
I got what I was looking for. Looking for. I got what I was looking for.
I always wondered what it would be like to be KatoKaelin for a day or even a minute or two. And I got to tell you, it's smelly. It's a little hard to breathe, but I feel funnier by the second.
I got what I was looking for.
How do I look? The KatoKaelin mask worn in what commercial was that, Kato?
We're going to play. It's Ask.com. It's 400 different people had that mask. They molded my face to that.
All right. For the one and only K-Train, KatoKaelin. Zeus, the man back there.
Let's run this spot.
I educated you about the OJ trial, Zeus. I hope you enjoyed those clips too. I'm Tom Zenner. Make sure you listen.
You're KatoKaelin.
Listen to our audio podcast. Follow us on social media. 2 episodes a week. You know the drill. We're going to start a membership soon. So
I love it.
It's been a hell of an episode. I'm Tom Zenner, and we will see you very, very soon.